Welcome to Shadowstream. You found the quiet place between the last highway light and the dark that never ends. A place made for the ones who listen when the world sleeps. Tonight, our wheels roll through Texas, endless miles of cracked asphalt, truck stops that never close, and voices that don't always come from the CB. These are true stories from the road. Stories from drivers who swear they were awake the whole time. You'll hear about the things that move, the side 18-wheelers at 3 a.m., the faces seen only in mirrors, and the radios that whisper names that shouldn't be known. This isn't just another set of scary tales. These ones stay with you like tire tracks you can't wash off. And if you make it to the end, you might find it harder to fall asleep to the sound of engines again. Most people listen to Dark Bites and forget to subscribe. Maybe they think they'll come back later. They don't. Tell me, what time is it where you are right now? Where are you watching from? The cab of a truck? Your bed? Somewhere quiet? Leave it in the comments. I like to know who's still out there, awake with me. Here are tonight's encounters. You might want to leave a light on. The first time I saw her, I thought she was just another stranded driver. It was around 2:30 in the morning, somewhere between San Angelo and Abilene, that dead stretch of highway where the radio goes to static and the sky feels too big. I'd been on the road for 16 hours, hauling a half-empty trailer of feed. My eyes were burning, the kind of tired that makes every shadow move wrong. Then my headlights caught something pale on the shoulder, a woman, standing completely still next to the green mile marker sign, 243. She didn't wave, didn't flag me down. She just stood there, facing the road, hair tangled, white shirt glowing like paper in my high beams. I remember my hand tightening on the wheel. Something about her posture, it wasn't desperate, it was expectant, like she was waiting specifically for me. I slowed a little, instinct kicking in. You don't ignore someone alone out there. I reached for my CB mic, thumb hovering. Before I could speak, the radio popped with static loud, sudden, and then a whisper of a woman's voice slid through. Don't stop. It was so faint I almost thought I imagined it. But the voice wasn't my dispatcher, and it sure as hell wasn't any other trucker. It was right there, threaded under the static like breath against glass. I blinked, looked back, and the woman on the road was gone. No taillights behind me. No one walking along the shoulder. Just the empty highway stretching black and endless in my mirrors. I kept driving. My chest felt tight, my hands slick against the steering wheel. The wind against the cab whistled like it was calling my name. By the time I reached the truck stop outside Bollinger, my nerves were shot. I pulled in, parked under the buzzing sodium lights, and sat there for a few minutes, trying to calm down. The lot was half empty, a couple reefers idling, one guy fueling up in silence. I told myself it was fatigue. Highway mirages. Maybe the light hit a road sign weird. But when I stepped down, the night air hit me, hot still, thick with that West Texas dust. And I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd left something unfinished back there. Inside, the diner was almost empty. The waitress, tired eyes, short gray hair, poured my coffee without asking. You look like you seen a ghost, she said. I forced a laugh. Just tired. Rough night. She nodded slowly, studying me. You come up 277? Yeah. Her eyes flicked to the window, then back to me. Don't stop between here and Abilene if you see a woman on the shoulder. That made my stomach drop. My spoon clinked against the mug. Excuse me? White shirt. Long hair. Always near that same mile marker. She leaned in slightly, her voice low. You ain't the first driver to see her. I didn't sleep in the cab that night. I sat in the booth till dawn, drinking coffee until my hands shook. Every time a truck rolled by outside, I half expected to see her reflection in the glass. The next morning, when the sun burned through the haze, I convinced myself it was just local talk ghost story nonsense. People get lonely on those roads. The brain fills the silence with faces. Still, when I hit the highway again, I caught myself counting the markers. 220, 230, 2-40 ... and then 2-40-3 ... nothing. Just wind and asphalt. Relief hit me so hard I laughed out loud, actually laughed. Like an idiot. That's when the smell hit me. Faint, chemical, sour. Like burnt antifreeze. It filled the cab in seconds. I checked the gauges. Everything looked fine. But the smell was getting stronger, making my eyes water. Then the CB crackled again, soft. Irregular static, followed by the same whisper. Closer this time. You should have stopped. I jerked so hard the wheel almost slipped from my hands. Who the hell is this? I shouted into the mic. No response. Just breathing. I pulled over fast, heart slamming, and killed the engine. The smell vanished instantly, like it had never been there. Outside, the wind had died completely. The road was silent, empty in both directions. And then I saw it. A figure, maybe 100 yards back, standing in the middle of the asphalt. Same white shirt, same hair blowing across her face. Only this time, she was facing away from me. I climbed down from the cab before I could think better of it. "Hey," I called out, trying to sound firm. "You okay?" No movement. No answer. I took a few steps toward her, gravel crunching under my boots. The air was hot and dry, but I could feel goosebumps rising along my arms. When I got close enough to see her outline clearly, I noticed something that made my skin crawl. Her feet weren't casting a shadow. Everything else, the sign, the road, even my truck, had that sharp noon shadow. But not her. That's when she turned. Her face wasn't wrong, exactly, just blurred, like I was looking at her through dirty glass. The only thing clear were her eyes, wide, dark, locked on mine. She opened her mouth, and I swear I heard a voice that didn't match her lips, like two people talking at once. "Don't stop for me again." Then she was gone. No sound, no flash, no fading. Just gone. Back in the cab, I sat shaking, trying to rationalize. Maybe heat stroke. Maybe exhaustion. But when I checked my dashcam footage later that night at a rest area, the blood drained from my face. The footage was fine, up until mile marker 243. Then the image glitched. For about 3 seconds, the whole screen went white. When it came back, my truck was moving, but there was someone sitting in the passenger seat. A woman, pale, hair tangled, staring straight at the camera. I didn't sleep that night either. Every sound outside the cab made me flinch. Footsteps that weren't there, faint tapping against the door. Around 3 a.m., the CB came alive again, just once. "I told you not to stop." Her voice was calm, almost gentle this time. And then, through the windshield, the highway lights flickered, once, twice, and I could see the reflection of someone sitting in the passenger seat again. I turned, nothing, empty. But the seatbelt on that side was buckled. The next day, I tried to act normal. Delivered the feed, signed the papers, even managed to joke with the farmhand who helped unload. But every reflective surface, every chrome tank, every side mirror showed me something that wasn't quite right. Sometimes it was just a smudge that looked like a handprint. Other times, I swear I saw her outline, watching me. That evening, as the sun went down, I decided I needed to prove to myself that it was just my mind. So I drove back to mile marker 243. The air felt heavier the closer I got, like the heat was pressing down harder. My heart was beating so loud I could hear it over the engine. When the marker came into view, I slowed down, eyes scanning every inch of shoulder and ditch. Nothing. I laughed again, shaky and hollow. "See? Nothing there," I said out loud, as if saying it made it true. That's when the truck stalled. No warning, no lights, just dead. Everything went silent. The only sound was the ticking of the cooling engine and my own breathing. Then, faintly, I heard it. Footsteps on gravel, slow, crunching, coming closer. I turned on the headlights manually, and there she was, standing right in front of the truck. Closer than before. Her head tilted to one side, like she was studying me. This time I could see her face clearly, and it was mine. She smiled. "Now you understand," she whispered. And every gauge on my dash flickered back to life at once. The engine roared. The headlights flared. But she was gone again. I didn't wait. I floored it, tires screaming against the asphalt, dust whipping up behind me. I didn't look in the mirrors, not once. I stopped 2 hours later at a way station, hands still trembling. One of the DOT officers came over, asked if I was okay. I lied, said I was fine, just tired. He nodded, handed me my papers, then froze, looking over my shoulder. "Who's that with you?" he asked. I turned, confused, but the passenger seat was empty. When I looked back at him, he'd gone pale. "Never mind," he said quietly. "Get some rest, driver." That night, parked behind the station, I checked my dashcam again. Same thing. The footage from the highway was fine until the marker. Then 3 seconds of white. Then me, driving, expression blank, eyes unfocused, and someone sitting beside me, whispering something I couldn't hear. I turned off the screen. Sat there in the dark, listening to the hum of the highway. I could smell that same faint chemical scent again. And for a moment, I thought I heard her voice right next to me, soft as breath. "You're getting closer." The next morning, I didn't remember falling asleep. One moment I was staring at the dashboard lights. The next, I was waking up with sunlight burning through the windshield and a cold ache in my chest. The driver's side window was open, even though I never opened it. My logbook lay on the passenger seat. Open, a fresh line written in my handwriting. "She's waiting." I didn't write that. I swear to God, I didn't. My hands were shaking so bad, I could barely turn the key. When the truck started, the radio came on by itself. Some old country song, warped and fuzzy. Only the words weren't right. The singer's voice stretched, slowing until it sounded like a woman humming through static. "Don't stop. Don't stop." I killed the power. But even with the radio off, I could still hear the humming. The rest of that day felt wrong, like I was moving through someone else's memory. The sun was too bright, the sky too clean. Every time I passed a reflective surface, I saw something just behind my shoulder. A pale blur dot at a diner in Sweetwater. I tried to eat, but the food tasted sour. The waitress set down my plate, glanced at me, and frowned. "You okay, hun?" "Yeah," I said, though my voice came out hoarse. "Just tired." She hesitated. "You got a girl traveling with you?" "Thought I saw someone in your rig window just now." My stomach dropped. "No, I'm alone." She blinked, looked back toward the parking lot. Must have been the sun. But the way she said it didn't sound like she believed it. By the time night fell, I was back on 277, heading north. Every instinct screamed to take another route, any route. But I couldn't. Something about that mile marker kept pulling at me, like an itch behind the eyes. The CB was silent now. The air in the cab felt heavy, like the humidity before a storm. My headlights cut a thin path through the dark. Every bump of the road rattled up my spine. Then the mile markers started. Again, 240, 241, 2-40-2. I slowed. My mouth went dry. 2-40-3. I expected her. I wanted to see her, to prove I wasn't losing it. But the shoulder was empty. Nothing but heat, shimmer, and gravel. For a long moment, I just sat there idling. The engine's low rumble was the only sound. I told myself to drive, to leave it. But when I looked at the dashboard clock, my breath caught. It read 2:43 a.m. I don't remember shutting off the engine. I just remember the silence after, thick and total. The kind of silence that makes your ears ring, and then tapping from inside the sleeper. 3 soft taps, perfectly spaced. I turned slowly. The curtain was half closed, moving slightly like someone had brushed against it. "Who's there?" My voice cracked. The tapping stopped. Then a whisper, low and close. "You stopped for me." Every muscle in my body froze. My heart pounded so loud it felt like it was shaking the cab. I reached for the door handle, but it wouldn't budge. The locks clicked down on their own, all of them. The curtain moved again. And she stepped out, not climbed, not crawled, stepped, like she'd always been there, waiting for me to notice its same white shirt, same tangled hair. But now I could see her skin, gray, damp looking, like she'd been pulled from water. She smiled, and I saw the corner of her mouth twitch, just slightly out of sync. "I told you not to stop," she said. I couldn't speak, could barely breathe. She tilted her head. "You saw me, and now I see you." Her hand came up, palm open, and I swear the air got colder, the kind of cold that hurts your teeth when you breathe. Then behind her, something flickered. The interior lights flashed, and for half a second, I saw myself sitting in that same seat. Blank-faced, staring straight ahead, I must have blacked out. When I came to, dawn was breaking. The truck was parked on the shoulder. Engine running. Transmission in neutral. My logbook was open again. Another line added. "She's driving now." The passenger seatbelt was buckled. I felt sick. My hands were stiff, covered in a thin layer of gray dust like ash. The windshield was smeared from the inside, long streaks, like someone dragging their hand downward again and again. I got out and looked around. No cars, no sign of life. The highway stretched empty both ways. Then I noticed the footprints. Bare, small, leading away from the truck toward the mile marker sign. They stopped right in front of it. And under the sign, carved into the metal, were words that hadn't been there before. Mile 243, for those who stop. I drove straight through to Fort Worth. No music, no CB, barely blinking. I didn't tell anyone what happened. Who would believe me? I quit the job a week later, sold the truck, moved 2 states away. But I keep hearing things, at night mostly. The hum of the highway when there's no traffic. The sound of gravel under invisible feet. Sometimes I wake up and the clock reads 2:43 every time, and the smell comes back, burnt antifreeze. Metallic, faintly sweet. Last night, I heard the CB click on again. My old call sign, my rig number, everything. And her voice, soft as a lullaby. "You didn't drive far enough. I don't use mirrors anymore." Covered every one of them in my apartment with duct tape. Can't risk seeing her again. But sometimes, when the wind hits the windows just right, I catch a flash, a reflection in the glass. A pale figure sitting behind me. Watching, I tell myself it's just the light. Just a shadow. But when I walked out to my car this morning, I froze. On the passenger side window, written in the condensation, were 3 words, mile marker 243, and below that, AANDPR, I need it small. Wet, perfectly clear. That's when I understood. She doesn't haunt that road. She's the road. Every trucker who stops, everyone who looks too long. She takes a little piece, keeps it, drives it forward. I don't know what she wants, or why she chose me. But I can feel her closer every night, moving through the static, through the hum of every passing rig. And now, when I hear those deep night engine sounds out my window, I know it's not traffic. It's her, driving, searching. The last thing I'll say, if you ever find yourself out on 277 at night, between San Angelo and Abilene, and you see that mile marker minus 243, don't slow down. Don't look. Don't listen. Because if you do, she'll ride with you too. And when she does, you'll start seeing yourself where you shouldn't be. The first time I heard the screaming, I thought it was just interference. Route 90 runs flat through West Texas, endless asphalt, dead radio zones, and more ghosts than people. I was running a night haul from Del Rio to Van Horn. It was past midnight. Dry lightning flashing somewhere over the desert. The kind that never brings rain, just flickers across the sky like old film. The CB had been silent for hours. No chatter, no warnings, nothing. Just that low static hum that keeps you company when the road won't. Then, right after I passed mile marker 312, the static broke. A single voice, faint, desperate. "Help me. Please." I froze. It didn't sound like a trucker. Didn't even sound like it came from the CB. More like it was inside the static. I turned the volume down, then back up. "Breaker, you okay out there?" "Who's calling?" Nothing. Just that hiss again. And underneath it, something else. Crying. I stared at the mic like it might bite me. "Repeat, you in trouble?" Then, "It's still burning." The voice was clearer that time, a woman's voice. Choked and trembling. Every hair on my arm stood up. I pulled over at the next rest turnout, just outside Marathon. No cars, no light, just the empty stretch of desert that eats sound. When I killed the engine, the quiet hit like a punch. I tried the CB again. Channel 1922-9, nothing but hiss. I switched on my phone hotspot to check coverage. No bars, figures. When I looked up, the highway shimmered in the heat mirage. Even though it was close to 1 a.m., the air out there always looks like it's moving. Like the ground's breathing. That's when the smell hit me, faint at first, then stronger. Burnt plastic, oil. I thought maybe I'd overheated the rig, but all my gauges were fine. Then I saw it. A faint orange flicker maybe a mile up the road. Firelight. I climbed back in. Heart thudding, and drove toward its slow dot as I got closer. The flicker shaped into something real, a burned-out sedan. Still smoking, nose first into the ditch. No other cars around. No troopers. No sign of help. I parked on the shoulder, grabbed my flashlight, and walked closer. The smell was thick, chemical, and sweet. When I swung the beam across the wreck, my stomach turned. The whole inside was blackened. Melted plastic, warped metal. But the driver's door was open, and on the asphalt, a few feet away, a woman's shoe. I called out, voice shaking. "Hello? Anyone here?" No answer. Just the crackle of cooling metal. I stepped closer, light sweeping the desert brush, the road, the ditch, nothing. Then the CB inside my truck popped back on. It's still burning. Same voice. Same exact words. I froze. The truck was off. No power. But the CB was lit up like someone had flipped the switch. I ran back, climbed into the cab, staring at the screen. The channel display flickered, numbers rolling nonsense. Then freezing on 90.0. That's not a CB channel. The speaker hissed again. Then a sound came through that I'll never forget. The crackling roar of a fire. And over it, someone gasping for air. I yanked the mic cable out of the unit. The sound kept going. I sat there shaking, hand clamped over my mouth. The smell of burning was stronger now, not from the wreck, but inside the cab. When I looked up, my windshield fogged, just for a second. Like someone exhaled from the passenger seat. I got the hell out of there. Drove straight for Alpine, doing 85 and a 70 the whole way. Didn't care. I just needed light, people, noise. At a 24-hour gas stop. I parked under the fluorescents, heart still hammering. The clerk, young kid maybe 19, asked if I was okay. I must have looked like I'd seen a ghost. "You smell smoke, man," he said, wrinkling his nose. I nodded. "Yeah. Think my rig's got a wiring issue." He frowned. "No, dude. I mean right now." He pointed at my jacket. The fabric was singed. Tiny black specks, like embers, had popped against it. I hadn't been that close to the car fire. Later. Sitting in the cab, I turned the ignition half on just to test the CB. Dead. No lights. No static, nothing. But as soon as I leaned back, the dash lights flickered, every single one. Like something brushed through the circuits. The CB display lit again on its own, 90.0, and then, through the hiss, I heard a new sound, breathing, slow, ragged, followed by a faint, metallic squeal like seatbelts tightening, then the voice, whispering so close I could almost feel the breath. He didn't stop for me. I didn't sleep. Not even for a second. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that burning car, the open driver's door, that single shoe dot. By morning, I decided I was done with that road. Told dispatch I was rerouting through I-10. They didn't argue. But when I started the engine, my GPS map glitched, spinning, recalculating, before freezing on a single route line. Route 90. No matter what I did, it wouldn't change. When I finally got moving, the radio, which I hadn't turned on, began to play an AM station through the static. Faint, distant country music. Then a broadcast cut through, like someone spliced into it. This is Highway Patrol Dispatch calling all units near mile marker 312. Vehicle fire reported. Occupants still trapped. My blood ran cold. That was the same place. The voice repeated, same wording, same tone, over and over, like a recording stuck on loop. Vehicle fire reported. Occupants still trapped. I turned the radio off. It stayed on. The song warped beneath it, slowing, voices dragging. Then, clear as day, a woman screaming. The next few miles are a blur. I don't remember driving them. One moment it was daylight. The next, the sun was gone and I was right back where I'd started, mile marker 312. The burned car was still there. Only it wasn't smoking anymore. The metal looked older somehow, rusted, like it had been sitting there for years. I stopped anyway. Couldn't help it. My foot hit the brake before I decided to dot as I climbed out. The night felt too still, too heavy. The air was warm, but I was freezing inside. When I passed my headlights, the beam hit the road and I saw movement. Just a flicker, a shape, someone standing by the wreck, turned away from me. Hair hanging down, clothes darkened, hands at her sides. Ma'am? My voice cracked. You need help? She didn't move. I took one more step and she spoke without turning. It's still burning. Then she vanished. Not disappeared, vanished. Like the light blinked and she wasn't there anymore. Back in the truck, shaking, I grabbed my phone. No signal. The dashboard clock read 12:37 a.m., then flickered to 0 o'clock, then 90.0. The CB came alive again. Route 90 reporting. All units respond. I froze. The voice wasn't hers this time. It was a man's. But there was something off. The tone had no depth, like it was recorded decades ago. Unit 37 responding. Fires spreading. Driver still inside. Then another voice, mine. Copy that. On scene. I dropped the mic. My voice, my exact voice. The static rose louder, shriller. The smell of smoke filled the cab again. I turned to the passenger seat, and there she was, for half a second. Burned skin, hollow eyes, mouth opening in a silent scream. Then gone. I didn't move until sunrise. When I finally got out, I checked the asphalt near the shoulder. There were fresh tire marks, mine, and next to them, smaller prints. Bare feet. Leading away from the wreck, they stopped in the middle of the road, and there, painted faintly across the asphalt, I saw it. Letters scorched into the surface. Like burned rubber forming words. Don't change the channel. I didn't drive the rest of that day. I just sat there with the truck idling, hands locked around the wheel. The desert stretched flat in every direction. No birds, no wind. Just that dry shimmer that makes you feel like the world stopped moving by late afternoon. I convinced myself I'd hallucinated the whole thing. Heat, Exhaustion. Fumes from the wreck, it made sense. I told myself I'd get to Van Horn, sleep. Forget. That plan lasted 20 minutes. As soon as I pulled onto the highway, the CB glowed again. I'd pulled the mic cable out. I'd even taped over the power switch, but it still lit. The display read 90.0. I didn't touch it. I just stared ahead. The static came on slow, rolling like wind. Then the same dispatcher's voice. Unit 37 report. Silence. Unit 37, do you copy? Then my voice answered, quiet, flat, copy, I'm still here. The sound made my throat tighten because it wasn't a recording. It was live. I could hear my breathing over the mic 1 second delayed. I slammed the CB off the mount and threw it onto the passenger floor. It kept talking. When I hit Sanderson, I pulled into a small diner to get my head straight. Place looked like it hadn't changed since the 70s faded Coke signs. Vinyl booths cracked from the sun. The waitress, maybe mid-40s, poured me coffee without asking. You heading west? Trying to. My voice sounded hoarse. She smiled faintly. You truckers still using CB out there? I hesitated. Yeah, why? Her smile faded. We don't hear much on them anymore. Not since that wreck. Something cold slid through me. What wreck? She nodded toward the window, out to the highway. Couple years back, car went up at mile 312. Woman trapped inside. No one stopped. They said you could hear her calling for help on the radio for days after. I didn't move. Just stared into my coffee until it stopped steaming. Locals call that stretch dead air now, she went on softly. Signals get stuck there. Voices too. When I finally looked up, she was already walking away. Back on the road, dusk bleeding across the desert. I promised myself I'd just keep driving until I hit the interstate. But every few miles the radio dial twitched by itself back toward 90.0. Every time. The air in the cab got heavier. By the time full dark fell, I could smell smoke again. Then, a voice. You left me there. I gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles popped. Leave me alone, I whispered. You heard me. My mirrors flickered. For a heartbeat, the reflection wasn't the highway, it was flames. I could see the shape of a car burning behind me, heat waves bending the glass. Then the sound hit. Not static, not radio. Real screams. I floored it. 80, 90. The desert blurred by. The radio kept going, volume rising on its own. Help me. It's still burning. And underneath that my own voice again, calm, mechanical. Copy that. Unseen. The truck died right at 312. Like the engine just quit existing. The silence after was deafening. Only my heartbeat and the tick of cooling metal. I sat there, afraid to breathe. Then the headlights flickered on by themselves, and through the beam I saw her dot standing in the center of the road. Not burned this time. Not even human looking, just a pale outline. Like the afterimage you get when you stare into a light too long. She raised one arm slowly, pointing toward the ditch. I followed her finger. The wrecked car was there again, fresh now. Flames licking the hood, glass blowing out from the heat. And inside, a figure was moving. I heard the scream raw, tearing. I ran. I didn't think, I just ran toward it. But the closer I got, the colder it became. The air shimmered, frost creeping along the edge of the asphalt even though it was 90 degrees out. The door was open. The seat was empty. Then a voice whispered right against my ear. Too late. I spun around. She was inches from me, eyes black, smoke curling from her mouth. I stumbled back toward the truck, but she followed each step, echoing like metal on metal. You heard me, she said again. And you kept driving. I didn't. You all keep driving. The world tilted. For a moment I wasn't standing on the highway anymore. I was inside the burning car. The heat hit like a wall, skin blistering, lungs seizing. I could hear the radio crackle above the roar of fire. Unit 37 copy? Vehicle fully involved. And my voice answered again, distant and hollow. Copy, 1 fatality. Then I was back in the cab, gasping, smoke still in my throat. The dash lights flickered. The odometer rolled backward, numbers spinning down until it froze on 00312. Outside, the flames were gone. Only darkness and the faint smell of melted rubber. I don't remember much of the next hour. Somehow the truck started again. Somehow I made it to Van Horn. I parked at a truck stop and sat staring at the radio until dawn. When the sky finally turned pink, I thought maybe it was over. I unhooked the CB, pulled the fuse, even tossed the unit in the dumpster. But that night, when I checked into a cheap motel, the room radio clicked on by itself. Static, channel 90.0. Then my own voice again. Faint but clear. Copy that. Unseen. I unplugged it from the wall. The sound kept playing. It's been months since then. I quit hauling West Texas runs. I keep the new truck's CB disconnected. But sometimes the speakers still hiss, just a little. When I pass a mile marker, I moved my routes north, but last week, outside Amarillo, I heard it again, barely there under the static. Help me, please. And last night, parked in a rest area, I dreamed I was back on Route 90, the radio light pulsing red. The same voice whispering through the dark. When I woke up, there was ash on the dashboard. I brushed it away, but my hand came back smeared black. The smell was unmistakable, burned plastic and oil. I looked in the side mirror, and for half a second, I saw the reflection of a car behind me. Headlights off. Smoke drifting through the grill. Then it was gone. I don't tell this story on the road anymore. The few times I did, the other drivers just nodded like they'd heard something similar. One guy said he picked up a woman's voice once, same stretch, asking if the fire department was coming. Another said he heard the screams, but no signal ever registered on his radio. They all stopped driving Route 90 after that, but someone still does. You can tell because every few weeks a new wreck shows up along that road. Always single vehicle fires. Always at night. Locals say it's bad luck, or faulty wiring, or heat lightning. But the old-timers at the diner, they know better. They call it dead air. They say every time a trucker hears that channel open, another voice gets caught. Another driver who doesn't make it past mile 312. And sometimes, if you listen long enough, you can hear all of them whispering under the static, begging to be heard. I'm done hauling. Texas. I don't even use radios anymore. But every now and then, when the night's quiet and the road hums just right, my stereo cuts out for a second, and for that second, I hear her. It's still burning. Then the static fades, and the music comes back, but in the reflection of the windshield, just before it does, I always see a single orange glow behind me, like a car fire burning far out on the horizon, waiting for someone to stop. The first thing that told me something was wrong wasn't what I saw, it was what I smelled. That sour, heavy rot that seeps through the air vents when you're driving past roadkill. Only this wasn't a whiff. It hung in the cab like it had climbed in with me. I was hauling cattle feed west of Abilene, just past a patch of scrubland that always felt wrong. Nothing grew right there. The mesquites were twisted, and the soil looked bruised, almost black. Locals called it the flat stretch, though it wasn't flat at all. It just looked empty in a way that made you feel like you were trespassing. I'd pulled over to rest middle of nowhere. No light but the stars. The feed company always ran tight schedules, and I'd already been on the road too long. My plan was to grab a nap, smoke a cigarette, and push on. But the second I stepped out, I knew I shouldn't have stopped. The heat had broken hours ago. Yet the ground radiated warmth like it was holding something beneath it. The air was thick and still. And that smell, Jesus, it was stronger outside. I lit up and leaned against the trailer, trying not to breathe too deep. Dust shimmered in my headlights, swirling in lazy circles. Somewhere off to the right, I heard the faintest scrape like metal dragging through gravel. Probably a coyote, I told myself. Just a coyote. Then the radio popped. Don't stay long. A woman's voice. Not dispatch. Not anyone I recognized. It came through the CB so low, it almost blended with the static, but it froze me mid-breath. I flicked the cigarette away, climbed back into the cab, and sat still, waiting for something anything else. Nothing came. Just the hum of the engine cooling. I shut off the radio completely and stared out at the dark. Headlights painting two pale cones into the brush. That's when I saw it, something pale half buried in the dirt about 30 yards ahead. Looked like a tarp at first. I thought maybe someone had dumped trash, old feed bags or something, but the shape was too human. I grabbed my flashlight and started toward it. Every step made that soft crunch of sand and bone-dry grass. The closer I got, the stronger the smell hit. By the time I reached the spot, my throat was burning. The light hit something pale under the dust. At first, I thought it was an animal. Then I saw fingernails. Hands. Small ones, curled tight against the chest of what was definitely a human shape. The dirt around it looked disturbed, recent, like it had been dug up and reburied again and again. My knees went weak. I took a step back, hand over my mouth. That's when I saw there were more all around. In a rough circle, the ground looked the same, sunken in. Pale shapes pushing through the surface. 8, maybe 9. I stumbled back toward the truck, every instinct screaming to get out. Halfway there, the CB turned itself back on. Don't leave them again. I froze. The light from my cab glowed faint in the distance, but it felt miles away. The voice came again. Clearer now, you left us here. I bolted for the cab, slammed the door, and threw it into gear so fast the trailer jolted. My headlights swept over the ground as I turned, and that's when I saw movement. Not a person. Not exactly. The dirt shifted, slow at first, then faster. The shapes under it were moving, pressing up like something trying to crawl free. I floored it. Gravel sprayed behind me. The trailer lurched, tires slipping on loose soil, but I didn't stop until I hit pavement again. I didn't look in the mirrors. I didn't need to. I could feel something staring at the back of my neck the entire drive. Reached Abilene around 3 a.m. and pulled into a truck stop. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely park. The cashier, young guy, bored, watched me like I was drunk. You okay, man? I nodded. Just bad stretch of road. He looked out toward the east. You mean near County Line Road? Yeah, he frowned. You didn't pull over, did you? I hesitated. He nodded to himself, muttered something like damn fool, then said louder, don't stop there again. That's county land. They found bodies out there years back. Never said how many. How long ago? I asked. He looked uncomfortable. 10, maybe 12 years. A rancher went missing too. Said he found something in his field, called it in, and then he trailed off. Just don't stop, all right? I left without finishing my coffee. The next night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those pale hands reaching through the dirt. I kept telling myself to forget it, but guilt gnawed at me. What if someone needed help? What if I'd just driven away from a fresh crime scene? By morning, I convinced myself to go back with my phone flashlight and dash cam running this time. When I reached the stretch again, the smell hit before I even stopped. I pulled over slowly, heart pounding, and stepped out. The sun was already low, painting everything in that sick orange light that makes the desert look endless. The air was still thick, heavy. I walked to where I thought I'd seen the graves, but the ground looked undisturbed. No sign of digging. No sunken spots. No pale shapes. Nothing. The brush even looked different, taller, fuller. Like the land had healed itself overnight. I turned in circles, confused. Flashlight trembling in my hand. That's when I noticed my footprints. They were there, faint but clear, leading right up to a patch of ground where I'd definitely been the night before. Only now there were no prints leaving it. Just ending. The CB popped on again. Why'd you come back? My head snapped up. The truck was maybe 50 feet away, engine off, doors locked, and the CB still lit. We were resting. I ran. The air felt thicker the closer I got, like breathing through wet cloth. I jumped into the cab and slammed the door. The CB speaker hissed, voices layering over each other. He came back. Leave him. Bury him. I yanked the mic cord free. The sound didn't stop. It only grew clearer. Then the trailer shook. A single thud, like something heavy hitting the back wall. I froze. Another hit. Then another. I threw it into gear and floored it, dust spinning up behind the wheels. The thuds continued for a few seconds, then stopped. When I checked the mirrors, I swear I saw something clinging to the back of the trailer. Pale, human-shaped, but wrong too long. Too thin. And just before I lost sight of it, it raised its head. The face was half dirt, half bone. By the time I hit the main road again, the smell of rot filled the cab. I rolled the windows down, gagging. When I stopped at a way station outside of town, one of the inspectors walked around the rig, waving his flashlight. He looked pale when he came back. You hauling meat or something? I shook my head. He frowned. Then why's there dirt pouring out your trailer latch? I climbed down and looked. Sure enough, a thin stream of black dirt trickled from the rear door hinges, leaving a trail behind me. The same kind of soil I'd seen out there. The inspector shook his head. Whatever you're carrying, dump it. Something's dead in there. I didn't even open it. I drove straight to a lot outside town and unhitched the trailer. Left it there. That night, I checked into a motel. Couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. At around 2 a.m., the phone on the nightstand rang once. I let it ring. Then faintly through the walls, I heard that same voice from the CB. We're still here. When morning came, I drove back to the lot. The trailer was gone. The owner swore he didn't move it, said I must have hooked to the wrong one. But I checked the number stamped on the hitch. It was the same. There was only a dark patch of dirt left where it had been parked. I stood there for a long time, trying to figure out if I was losing my mind. Then I noticed something sticking up from the ground, small, white, half buried. I knelt and brushed it off. A fingertip bone. Clean. That was a week ago. I haven't driven west of Abilene since. I took local runs, daylight only. But every morning when I check my tires, there's always a fine layer of dark soil clinging to them, no matter how far I drive. And sometimes, when I'm parked at night, I hear the faint scrape of metal on gravel, like something dragging itself closer. Once, just before dawn, I found a handprint on the passenger door, dirt packed, smudged, too small to be mine. The strangest part? It looked like it was pressing outward. I didn't plan on going back out there. I swore I wouldn't. But some things don't let you move on. After that week, the nightmares started. Dry soil choking my throat, hands clawing up from underneath me, and that voice whispering from inside the CB, even when it wasn't plugged in. I'd wake up coughing, my sheets streaked with dust. It didn't matter how far I drove or how many miles I put between me and that place. The smell of dirt followed me. My boots, my cab, even my clothes. Always that same black soil. And the dreams kept saying the same thing. Come finish what you started. One night, I was hauling a short load near Sweetwater when I noticed the GPS blink. My route suddenly shifted, recalculating itself without me touching it. The new line wound south, back toward that empty stretch outside Abilene. I cursed under my breath and hit cancel. But the screen didn't change. It kept blinking, the arrow pointing toward County Line Road. Then the radio, the new one. Factory installed, came on by itself. You know the way. The voice was calm this time. Not angry, just waiting. I tried turning the wheel toward the highway, but the power steering locked up for a few seconds. Like the truck itself resisted. When I finally forced it free, the sky cracked open with thunder, but no rain came. Just wind, thick and hot, sweeping across the cab. Something in me broke then. Fear, guilt, exhaustion, I don't know. But I turned around. The road was exactly as I remembered. Empty, flat, even in the dark. I could see the faint shimmer of disturbed dirt along the shoulder. The smell hit before I stopped, stronger than before. Like wet decay baking in the heat. I killed the lights and stepped out. Flashlight in one hand, shovel in the other. The ground pulsed faintly under my boots. Like it was breathing. I followed the marks until I reached the spot. The same circle of earth. Darker than the rest. Only this time, there was a single cross sticking up from the center. Rough wood, tied with old rope. No name. No date. Just there. I knelt beside it and started digging. I don't even know why. Maybe I thought I'd prove to myself there was nothing there. Maybe I thought I'd set something right. After a few minutes, I hit fabric. Then bone. Small bones. A rib cage, fragile and half crumbled. And next to it, a ring. A thin gold band, crushed but still shining under the dirt. That's when I heard the footsteps behind me. They weren't heavy, just slow, dragging. Like someone barefoot, stepping through loose soil. I turned fast, flashlight shaking. There was a woman standing at the edge of the circle. Her dress was gray, torn, clinging to her like wet paper. Her skin looked drained, almost translucent, and her hair hung in ropes over her face. But her eyes, God, they were bright. Not glowing, not white, just alive. You came back. I couldn't speak. My throat locked. You weren't supposed to leave, she said softly. The wind picked up, carrying the smell of rot and something else. Smoke. I shook my head. I didn't know. I didn't. You left us here. Her voice cracked then, and the ground behind her moved. Hands broke the surface, dozens of them, reaching, twitching, clawing at the air. I stumbled backward, but my boot caught the shovel handle, and I fell hard. My flashlight spun across the dirt, beam slicing through a haze of dust and fingers. Help us, she whispered. The words came from everywhere at once. From the ground. From the air. From under my feet. I scrambled to my knees, heart hammering. Tell me what you want, I shouted. The woman pointed toward the shallow hole I dug. All of them. I didn't understand, not until the flashlight beam shifted and caught the outlines around me. There weren't 8 or 9 mounds this time. There were hundreds, some fresh, some old, all breathing. I backed away, but the soil under me sank, sucking at my boots. I fell to one knee, hands sinking into something soft, fabric, then skin. Someone grabbed my wrist. The hand was cold, tiny. A child's. Don't leave. I screamed and yanked free, clawing my way back toward the truck. I didn't stop until I hit the gravel shoulder, lungs burning. When I turned back, the field looked calm again. Flat, silent, but I could still see faint movement under the surface. Like something rolling just beneath. And in the middle of it all, that woman stood still, her head tilted slightly, watching me. Then she smiled. Now you know. I drove until sunrise, straight through to Dallas. Didn't even stop for fuel until the light came on. Every shadow on the road looked like a person crawling out of the ground. When I finally parked at a truck stop, I sat there shaking, staring at my hands. My fingernails were packed with black dirt. I hadn't even touched the ground when I got back in. That's when I noticed the smell again. But this time, it wasn't outside. It was coming from the sleeper. I turned slowly. There was dirt spilling out from under the mattress. I pulled it back and saw a perfect outline of a body pressed into the bedding. Small, faint dot, and when I blinked, it was gone. Over the next few days, things got worse. Whenever I parked, I'd hear knocking from the trailer walls. Whenever I turned off the radio, whispers would fill the silence, low, pleading, always the same words. Dig us up. Set us free. I started avoiding sleep altogether. The few hours I managed, I'd wake to find more dirt scattered across the floor mats. Once, my boot prints in the dust weren't facing the driver's side. They were leading out of the truck. A week later, I tried to tell someone, a sheriff's deputy I met at a way station. I told him what I'd seen, what I'd found. He listened quietly, then asked where exactly I'd pulled over. When I gave him the mile marker, his expression changed. He sighed. Son, that stretches on condemned land. Used to be a state farm in the 60s. They brought inmates out there for labor, then stopped. Found graves. Not all of them marked. I swallowed hard. Inmates? He nodded. And kids. Whole families, actually. Runaways, drifters, people nobody missed. They used to bury them wherever they dropped. County cleaned up what they could. But he trailed off. It's bad dirt out there. He told me to forget it. To let the dead rest. But they weren't resting. Not anymore. The last night I drove through Texas, I made one final stop outside town to refuel. When I came back from paying, I saw handprints all over the trailer door, small, overlapping, pressed deep into the metal dot and written across the back. Traced in dirt were the words, "You found US." I wiped it off. Heart pounding. 5 minutes later, it was back. I don't drive freight anymore. I sold the rig and moved east, far from that highway. But the nightmares followed. Last week, I woke to find my backyard dug up, shallow pits scattered through the dirt. Like something had been trying to climb out. The smell hit me again, the same as before. And on my porch, there was a single small ring, the same one I dug up that night. I called the police. They searched the yard, asked questions, wrote a report. But they didn't find anything, not the holes, not the ring. When they left, I went inside and sat at the kitchen table, hands shaking. The clock ticked loud in the silence. Then, faintly, from the old CB I kept boxed in the closet, the one I'd never powered since that night, came the crackle of static. "Thank you." Then another voice. Soft, almost kind. "We're still waiting. I don't know what's buried out there, or how deep it goes. But every time it rains, I dream of those graves. The ground turning to mud, the air filling with voices, hundreds of them, whispering under the thunder dot, and in the dream. They're not reaching for help anymore. They're reaching for me, because I came back. Because I dug where I shouldn't have. And because in Texas, some roads don't end. They just sink deeper. The first thing I noticed was how wrong the lights looked. Most Texas rest stops are harshly bright fluorescent and buzzing. Moths swarming like it's the only place alive for miles. But this one rest stop, number 17, was lit by these weird yellow bulbs that flickered in slow, uneven rhythm, like the place was breathing. I wasn't even supposed to stop. It was 1:47 a.m., and I was only 30 minutes from my drop in Odessa. But my eyes had started doing that thing where the white lines blur together and your brain fills in black shapes between them. I told myself it was just fatigue, but then I saw the sign, rest stop number 17 1 mile ahead, and just beneath it, someone had spray painted in black, "Don't sleep here." I almost laughed when I saw it. I should have listened. The lot was empty except for one old sedan parked crooked near the bathroom side. I pulled in at the far end, backed my rig into the corner, and killed the engine. The silence hit me like a wave. No trucks, no cicadas, just wind sliding across concrete. I left the headlights on while I got out habit. You learn real quick out here that dark rest stops attract things worse than thieves. The vending machines glowed from across the lot, humming. I headed that way, rubbing my eyes. thinking I'd grab a soda and keep moving. That's when I noticed it. The sedan I'd seen earlier was still running. Exhaust puffed faintly from the tailpipe, silver in the headlights. I couldn't see anyone inside. The driver's door was open just a crack. Something about that felt off. I called out, "Hey, you good?" Just loud enough to carry no answer. The air smelled strange. Not smoke or oil, something sweet, cloying. Like rotting fruit. I took a few steps closer, my boots crunching against gravel. The headlights from my truck barely reached the sedan, but I could make out a shape in the driver's seat. A man, or what used to be one. His head was tilted back. Mouth open, eyes glassy in the half-light. I froze. Then, from inside the restroom building, a door slammed hard. I jumped, nearly lost my footing. My pulse was hammering so loud it drowned out the wind. "Hello?" The word came out sharper than I meant. I didn't even know why I said it. Silence. Then another sound, soft, wet, dragging. Like bare feet sliding across tile. I turned back toward the bathroom building. The yellow light flickered above the door, shadows stretching and twisting across the wall. I thought about running back to the truck and leaving, but something in me wanted to see. Maybe it was stupid curiosity. Maybe I didn't want to believe what I'd seen in the car. Either way, I walked toward that flickering doorway. The air got colder the closer I got. My breath fogged in front of me. Texas in August shouldn't do that. Inside, the bathroom looked abandoned. One of the mirrors was cracked down the middle, and the trash can overflowed with paper towels long turned brown. And there by the far stall was a single boot print in blood. I swallowed hard. The sound of dripping water echoed from somewhere deeper inside. That's when I saw it. Someone was standing in the last stall, facing the wall. Just standing there. I froze. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. They weren't moving either, just this figure, tall, thin. Head tilted like they were listening to something behind the wall. Then I realized what I was hearing wasn't water dripping. It was breathing, slow, labored. I took a step back. My boot squeaked on the tile. The figure twitched. Not a full turn, just enough for the shoulders to shift, the head to cock sideways, almost curious. I whispered, "Hey, you okay in there?" No answer. Just that awful heavy breath. I turned and ran. When I hit the parking lot, my headlights flickered off by themselves. Everything went dark. The only light came from those yellow bulbs above the restroom, and one of them had gone out. I sprinted for the cab, jumped in, and slammed the door. The moment I turned the key, the radio lit up. "Stay awake." The voice wasn't mine. Wasn't the radio station either. Just a whisper through static. Then something moved in the reflection of the windshield back near the bathroom. The stall door had opened. Someone was stepping out. Moving slow, head still tilted sideways like it didn't sit right on the neck. I floored it. Gravel sprayed. The tires screamed. But as I hit the on-ramp, the yellow glow from the rest stop followed in the mirrors longer than it should have, like the lights themselves were chasing me. By the time I got to Odessa, it was almost dawn. The sun made everything look normal again, flat, dull, harmless. I offloaded the feed, signed the papers, and sat in the cab trying to steady my hands. I told myself I'd imagined it. Sleep deprivation, headlights, maybe even a drunk at the rest stop. But when I went to log my mileage, I noticed the GPS still said I was parked at rest stop. #17. The coordinates wouldn't update no matter what I pressed. And when I shut the engine off, I heard something in the sleeper behind me, faint, slow breathing. Like someone trying not to be heard. I turned around fast. Nothing there. But the air smelled like rotting fruit again. I checked into a motel that afternoon. Took a hot shower, laid down, told myself to forget it. When I woke up that evening, the sun had just gone down. I grabbed my phone to check the time. 1:47 a.m. Exactly the same time I'd pulled into rest stop number 17 the night before. The second I noticed that, the lights in the room flickered yellow, and somewhere, maybe from the bathroom, Maybe from the vent above the bed, I heard that same wet, dragging sound again. I didn't open the door. I didn't move. The air got colder. Then my phone lit up, screen flickering. A new text came through from an unknown number. It was a picture of my truck. Parked under those yellow lights. The message under it said, "You didn't stay." I threw the phone across the room. Heart racing. Then came a knock at the motel door. 3 slow taps. I froze. Another 3. Louder this time. I didn't answer. The peephole showed nothing but darkness. No hallway light, no outline. Just black. Then a voice right on the other side. "You fell asleep." I backed away, grabbed my keys, and ran out the back exit barefoot. The parking lot was empty, my truck nowhere in sight. But way out near the road, under a single flickering light, I saw it. And beside it, same sedan from the rest stop. Door cracked open, engine still running. I didn't go closer. I just turned and ran until my lungs burned. When I looked back, both vehicles were gone. I hitched a ride out of town the next morning. The driver said there hadn't been a rest stop number 17 on that highway in 10 years. It was condemned after a string of disappearances, people who stopped and never woke up again. They said the county tore it down. Paved over the lot. But when I checked my dashcam footage later, the video showed me pulling into a rest stop that night clear as day. Yellow lights, vending machines, sedan, everything. Then the footage cut to black for 6 minutes. When it came back, I was already on the road, screaming. I didn't drive for 3 weeks after that. Every time I thought about getting behind the wheel again, I'd see that yellow light flicker behind my eyes. Hear that slow, dragging sound across tile. Smell that sickly sweet rot clinging to my clothes. I tried to explain it once to another trucker I knew, a guy named Harlan who'd been on the road longer than I'd been alive. He just looked at me for a long time and said, "You sure it was rest stop number 17? When I nodded, his face went pale. He told me that stretch of highway used to have a stop by that name back in the 90s. But something happened there. People going missing in their sleep. Finding empty cars idling with the doors open. The county shut it down after a driver was found slumped over in his cab. Eyes wide open, but lungs full of something thick and black. He said they paved over it. Rerouted the exit entirely. I didn't believe him, not really. But I couldn't shake the way he said it. They paved over it. Like the place wasn't gone. Just covered. A month later, I took a short run out of habit. I figured if I stayed on daylight routes, I'd be fine. Everything was fine. Until I hit mile marker 243. That's where the GPS glitched again, coordinates flickering, recalculating over and over. Then my phone buzzed. A text, unknown number, 1:47 a.m. I stared at it, confused. It wasn't even close to midnight yet. But when I looked at the dash clock, the hands were frozen, both pointing straight at 12. And the sun was gone. Just like that. The sky went black as if someone flipped a switch. The air filled with that smell again, fruit rot, copper, heat. Ahead of me, a sign glowed faint yellow. Rest stop number 17, next right. I slammed the brakes. Tires screamed. That exit shouldn't exist. It was gone. Paved over, but it was right there. Brand new sign, bright as day. And behind it, through the dark, I could see the glow of those same flickering yellow bulbs. My phone vibrated again. Another text. You have to finish your rest. Then the truck engine died. No sputter, no warning, it just stopped. The silence that followed was thick, swallowing. I could hear my own breathing echo inside the cab. I tried the key. Nothing. Dead. Then I heard it again. That dragging sound. But this time it wasn't in the bathroom. It was outside, circling the truck. Something brushed against the door, slow, deliberate. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Then a voice, inches from the window. Come back inside. You fell asleep. I grabbed the flashlight from the glove box and flicked it on. sweeping the beam out the window. Nothing. But when I turned the light back toward the dash, I froze. There was condensation on the inside of the windshield, like someone had been breathing there. In the center, drawn through the fog, were 4 words: "Stay and rest here." I fumbled for my phone. The signal bar was gone. Only one thing showed on the screen: my GPS location. Rest stop #17. Coordinates unreadable. I told myself not to open the door. I told myself over and over that if I stayed put until morning, everything would go back to normal. Then something hit the trailer. Hard. The whole rig shook. Then again. And again. I looked in the side mirror, and my stomach turned. Dozens of pale figures were standing at the edge of the lot. Not moving. Not breathing. Just standing. Every time the lights flickered, they'd shift positions, closer, then closer still. And one of them, tall, head cocked sideways, started walking toward me. My body moved before my brain caught up. I kicked the door open and jumped down, sprinting toward the road. The ground felt soft under my boots, too soft. When I looked down, the asphalt was cracking, thin seams of dirt showing through. And under that dirt, pale shapes were pushing upward. Hands. Dozens of them. They reached for my legs, my boots, my knees, dragging me down inch by inch. I tore free, stumbling forward, and saw the bathroom building ahead, glowing faintly through the dark. Every instinct screamed not to go in, but the road was gone behind me. Just black, endless. So I ran for the light. Inside, the air was freezing. The mirrors were shattered now, and the stalls stood open, all but the last one. And from that last one came the sound of breathing. Slow, familiar. When I turned the flashlight toward it, my own reflection looked back from inside. Same jacket, same eyes. But I wasn't moving. He was. "You're still sleeping," my reflection said. Then the stall door slammed shut. I stumbled back, tripping over something soft. I looked down. It was the man from the sedan. Same face, same open eyes, only now his mouth moved. "Stay, rest." The lights went out. For a few seconds, there was nothing. Just blackness and the sound of dozens of slow, dragging footsteps. Then yellow light flared back on, dim, dying, and the stalls were all filled. Every one of them held someone standing still, heads tilted, eyes open. The smell was unbearable. I ran. I don't know how I made it back to the truck. I don't even remember turning the key. But the engine roared to life like it had been waiting for me. The GPS screen blinked back to normal. 3:12 a.m. Odessa bound. The sky lightened behind me, just a faint gray, like dawn was finally breaking. I didn't stop until I hit city lights again. When I pulled over at a diner, I sat shaking for a full hour before going inside. The waitress smiled, asked if I was passing through. I told her yeah, just heading east. When she brought my coffee, she frowned. "You got dirt all over your face, hun. You been sleeping outside?" I wiped my cheek. My hand came back black with soil. That was 2 months ago. I haven't seen another rest stop sign since, but last week, I found something tucked in the driver's seat pocket, a single yellow bulb. Cracked, faintly warm to the touch. And last night, when I parked outside my apartment, the radio turned itself on again. Static, then a whisper, "It's your turn to rest." I turned it off, but when I stepped out of the truck, the parking lot lights flickered yellow, slow, uneven. Breathing. I don't sleep much anymore, because sometimes when I start to drift, I hear those dragging footsteps again, just outside the door. And when I open my eyes, I can see my reflection in the dark glass of the window. He's standing there in the yellow light, smiling. Mouth moving. Rest stop number 17. Always open. The first time I heard the voice on channel 19, I thought it was just interference. Static. Crosstalk from another driver too far out to hear clearly. But then she said my name, not my handle, my name, and that's when I knew something was very wrong. It was a dead stretch of Texas highway, somewhere between Amarillo and Childress. Midnight. I'd been hauling refrigerated goods for nearly 9 hours straight. Trying to make up for lost time, the road was flat. Empty, no headlights behind, no taillights ahead. Just a ribbon of asphalt stretching into darkness. I had the CB on low, mostly habit. Truckers talk to keep from going crazy out here. The hum of static is like company when the world goes silent. Then the static shifted. The tone changed. It was softer. Wet. Almost. Then colon double quotes. Ryan? I froze. Nobody called me that on the radio. Nobody knew that name out here. My handle was Bluecoat. Always had been. I turned up the volume. Ryan. You out there? Her voice was calm, low, like someone whispering in another room. I thumbed the mic. Breaker 19, who's calling? Nothing. Just static. Then, after a few seconds, you need to pull over. That got under my skin fast. The voice wasn't angry or rushed. Just matter of fact. I looked at the GPS. No exits for 20 miles. I pressed the mic again. Who is this? You patch in from dispatch? A pause. Then, through a slow fade of static. Yes, I'm your dispatcher tonight. We've got a problem. The thing was, I didn't have a dispatcher that night. It was a solo run, contract load. You're coming through pretty rough, I said, keeping my tone light. Name and terminal? She didn't answer. Just this soft exhale, like she was leaning close to the mic. The problem's behind you. Ryan, don't look. Every hair on my arm stood up. I checked my side mirrors anyway. Nothing but black highway. Then the CB crackled again. Louder this time. Don't look. That voice, she sounded closer. Not like she was on the radio anymore, but like she was sitting in the sleeper right behind me. I twisted around. Heart hammering. Nothing there. Just the empty bunk. Shadows stretching along the walls from the dash lights. Okay, I muttered to myself, gripping the wheel tighter. Lack of sleep, audio bleed, whatever. I switched the CB to a different frequency to 17. Then 21, then 24. Static, silence. Nothing else. I left it off. And for a while. The road stayed quiet again. I made it maybe 5 more miles before the reefer unit kicked. That sharp metallic clunk it makes every hour. Only this time. It didn't sound like machinery. It sounded like someone slapping the side of the trailer. I flinched. Checked my mirrors again. Still nothing. But the CB lit up on its own. No power switch, no input. The screen flickered green, numbers rolling. Then, through pure static. Don't stop. Just listen. That same woman's voice. I picked up the mic again, my hands shaking. Who the hell is this? Dispatch. Dispatch from where? A pause. Then the sound of a breath, so close it hissed through the speaker. Nowhere. Then the line went dead. I pulled off at the next rest area. A half-abandoned stop near Estelin, 1 bathroom. 1 soda machine, no lights. I sat there idling for a few minutes, trying to calm down. Told myself I was tired. Hallucinating radio chatter happens more than you'd think. I stepped out, stretched my legs, and checked the trailer. Everything looked fine. No marks. No signs anyone had hit it. But when I walked back to the cab, something caught my eye. On the side of the trailer, near the rear doors, someone had written in the dust, "You heard me." I stared at it for a long time. Then I wiped it off. Climbed back in and started driving again, faster this time. The CB stayed off, but the radio flicked on by itself, tuned to a dead AM channel. And beneath the static, I could hear faint breathing, then faint, like someone whispering through a crack in the window. You didn't pull over when I told you to. I damn near drove off the road. I slammed the radio off, heart pounding, but even without it, I could still hear her. Faint. under the hum of the tires, the drone of the reefer unit, the whistle of air through the vents. It was like she'd slipped into the white noise around me. You passed the turn. You weren't supposed to. I yelled out loud, just to drown her out, hit the horn, anything to fill the silence. Didn't matter. The voice just got clearer. You're going the wrong way. Then, up ahead, my headlights caught something on the shoulder. A truck, just like mine. Same make, same trailer. Door wide open. Its hazard lights blinked in slow rhythm, red flashing over the asphalt. I slowed down without thinking. The cab was dark. No one in the seat. And on the side of the trailer, same place I'd seen the dust writing before, were 3 fresh words scratched deep into the paint. Where are you going? I didn't stop. I floored it past. The radio hissed again, loud enough to make me flinch. Wrong answer. And then, for the first time, I saw headlights appear in my mirror. 1 set, then 2, then 3, all white, blinding bright. Gaining fast. They were silent, no engine sound, no horn. Just light. I pushed 80, then 85, tires screaming against the road. And still they closed in. Ryan, you need to pull over. Her voice was calm again. This is dispatch. You missed your stop. Pull over now. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because the road in front of me was changing, slowly, almost imperceptibly. The stripes disappeared. The asphalt turned gray, rougher, cracked like concrete. And the mile markers, they all read the same thing. 17 over and over again. Mile 17, mile 17, mile 17. Then, right ahead, glowing under my headlights, a small sign half buried in the dirt. Rest stop. #17 next right. I slammed the brakes, skidding sideways across the empty road. Trailer fishtailing. When I came to a stop, everything went silent. The lights behind me were gone. The CB clicked back on by itself. Dispatch here. You made it. I sat frozen, my breath fogging the glass. Then from behind the trailer, I heard a door slam. Someone had gotten out. Slow footsteps crunched along the gravel shoulder. Getting closer. Then, a knock on my cab door. 3 soft taps. Ready for your next load? I didn't want to open the door. Every nerve in my body screamed, don't move. But the knocking came again. 3 dull, patient taps against the glass. I stared straight ahead, gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles popped. The yellow glow from my dash clock flickered. 1:47 a.m., of course it was. The CB crackled softly, that same calm voice seeping through static. It's okay, Ryan, you're home base now. I whispered without thinking. What do you mean, home base? There was a pause, long enough that I thought maybe it was over. Then a faint laugh like air leaking through teeth. Someone has to dispatch the next run. The sound of metal scraping echoed outside, a slow drag along the trailer's length. It moved from back to front, stopping right by my door. Then softly, through the thin crack of my window, open up. You're off the road now. My mind started racing. Maybe it was a prank, a local freak trying to scare truckers. Maybe another driver. Anything to make it normal. I forced myself to look in the side mirror. There was a figure standing there, tall, long coat flapping in the wind. But the reflection looked wrong. The light from my cab didn't touch them. The edges of their shape fuzzed, like fog seen through water. And when they leaned closer, I realized the face wasn't there. Just black glass. The radio came alive again. The woman's voice sharper now. Ryan, you're not listening. We gave you clear instructions. Who are you? I shouted. Who the hell are you? Dispatch from where? Know where you've been. But you've driven through it plenty. A loud burst of static filled the cab, almost deafening. I dropped the mic. When it cleared, the figure was gone. But now, through the windshield, I could see something new, a building down the access road. A squat concrete office with a flickering red sign. Dispatch center, authorized personnel only. There was no building there before. I swear there wasn't, but now the door was wide open. Faint yellow light spilling out, like it was waiting for me. In on the wind. I heard the voice again, not from the CB this time, but coming from that building. You're late. Ryan, come clock in. I sat there for a long time before I finally got out. The air was heavy, humid, smelled like ozone and old dust. The world around me was quiet, too quiet. Even my truck engine wasn't ticking like it should after a run. Every sound felt swallowed. The closer I got to the building, the more the gravel under my boots seemed to fade. And that smell, the same sweet rot from before, drifted out of the open doorway. Inside, fluorescent lights hummed above cracked linoleum floors. Desks lined the walls, each one stacked with old radios, rotary phones, half-dead monitors, and behind the far desk sat a woman. Her back was to me, hair pulled tight in a braid. She wore a dispatcher's headset. The radio in front of her was live, transmitting. Breaker 19, this is dispatch calling eastbound at mile marker 17. Do you copy? Static. Then a voice, a man's, came through clear as day. Yeah, dispatch. This is Ryan, copy that. My stomach dropped. The voice was mine. The woman turned around slowly. Her face was off, like it hadn't settled right on her skull. The skin looked stretched, translucent under the humming light. But her eyes were black glass, smooth and reflective. We needed a new operator, she said softly. You came highly recommended. What are you? I whispered, dispatch. She turned one of the dials on the console. The air filled with hundreds of overlapping voices, men and women calling for help, crying, screaming through static. Every frequency alive at once. They never listen, she said. So we send another. I backed toward the door, but it wasn't there anymore. Just another wall of consoles, glowing faint yellow. The hum of radios grew louder, merging into a single pulsing tone that seemed to vibrate inside my skull. Don't fight it, she whispered. You're already broadcasting. I looked down. The mic cord was wrapped around my wrist, snaking from one of the radios. No matter how hard I pulled, it wouldn't come loose. The woman leaned closer. I could smell that rot, thick and sweet. Say the words. What words? Breaker 19. This is dispatch. I didn't say it. I wouldn't. I squeezed my eyes shut, tried to block it out. The sound, the lights, the voices. Then someone screamed through one of the radios, help. There's someone in my trailer. And then silence, followed by the woman's voice again. Faint, patient. Breaker 19. This is dispatch. Copy that. But this time, it wasn't her voice. It was mine. When I opened my eyes, I was sitting behind the desk. The headset was on my head. The mic light was green. The woman was gone. The room was empty. Outside the windows, everything was dark. No stars, no road. Just endless black. The only thing that moved was the faint red light of a CB tower in the distance, pulsing slow and steady. And in my ear, Static whispered, "You're on the line now, Ryan. Keep them moving." That was, I don't even know how long ago. Time doesn't work here. Sometimes the radios go quiet for days, then light up all at once. Truckers lost in fog, wrong turns, dead rest stops. They all call eventually. They think I can help them, but I can only say what I'm told. Pull over. Don't look behind you. Stay on the line. Sometimes, when the noise fades, I hear something else. The sound of tires on asphalt. The distant hum of an engine. I think it's mine. I think I'm still out there, driving that endless highway. But every time I key the mic and try to call back, all I hear is static, and then my own voice answering. Breaker 19. This is dispatch. You copy? I don't sleep anymore. I don't eat. I just sit here, talking to ghosts who don't know they're ghosts yet. And sometimes, when one of them doesn't listen when they drive too far, or stay on too long, the line fills with a new voice. Familiar. Breathing heavy. Confused. Breaker 19. This is Ryan. Anyone copy? And I have to say it. The words I've been taught. Dispatch here. You're coming in clear. Pull over at the next exit. The light on my console flickers now. Channel 19. Blinking. Someone new's calling in. A man's voice. Scared, shaky. Dispatch, this is Bluecoat. Heading east past mile marker 17. Anyone there? I close my eyes. My hand moves to the mic without thinking. Copy that, Bluecoat. We've got a problem. What kind of problem? The kind you can't drive away from. Outside the window, the red CB tower hums louder, its pulse syncing with my heartbeat. The air smells like fruit rot again. Another driver joins the line. Another voice lost to the static dot, and as the signal fades, I whisper what she whispered to me that night. You're with dispatch now. It started with a reflection. Not mine. I was hauling a tanker out of Houston, heading west on I-10. Dead tired, but riding that wired edge you get after too much gas station coffee. It was close to 3 a.m., the road empty. The world around me silent, except for the hum of the diesel. That's when I saw him. Not on the road, in the mirror. A man standing in the middle of the highway behind me. Barefoot, wearing a white shirt so bright, it looked silver under the moon. What hit me hardest were his eyes. They flashed like polished chrome. I thought it was just a trick of light, some reflective sign catching. Wrong, until he tilted his head. Both eyes tracked me in the mirror, and for a split second, I swear he smiled. Then he was gone. The road stretched empty again, dark and clean. I told myself it was nothing. Long drives do that to you. The brain starts drawing people out of shadows, faces out of rear lights. But when I stopped at a Love's outside junction an hour later, he was waiting for me. I didn't notice him right away. The place was quiet, a couple of rigs lined up for the night. Fluorescent lights buzzing over the pumps, cicadas droning in the brush. I got out, stretched, and started fueling up. That's when I caught it again, a reflection in the tanker's curved steel. A man standing by the far pump, maybe 30 yards away, still barefoot, still wearing white, still staring straight at me. But this time, he wasn't in the mirror. He was real. He didn't move when I looked at him. Didn't wave. Didn't blink. The only thing that moved was the flicker of the lights overhead, flashing across his face, making those chrome eyes shimmer like mercury. Hey! I called out. He didn't answer. I started to walk around the tanker toward him, one step, two. The air felt colder there, even under the Texas heat. When I rounded the front of the cab, he was gone. Not walked away. Not hidden, just gone. I circled the lot, checked behind the dumpsters, looked across the field. Nothing. By the time I got back to the truck, my fuel gauge was full, even though I never flipped the handle. And on the side of the tanker, where his reflection had been, someone had dragged a finger through the grime to write 3 words. Keep your eyes. That was it. No signature, no print. Just that. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. When dawn came, I told myself again it was stress, too many miles, too little rest. But the next night, somewhere near Fort Stockton, it happened again. I was checking my side mirror before merging when I saw him walking along the shoulder. Same white shirt, same barefoot stride, same chrome eyes gleaming even from 50 yards away. He wasn't hitchhiking. He wasn't waving. He was just walking straight toward my lane. And when I passed him, he turned his head, slow, perfect, and looked right into the cab. I almost ran off the road. When I looked back, he was already gone. I pulled into a rest area 10 minutes later, shaking. I sat there for maybe 15 minutes before climbing into the sleeper. When I finally dozed off, I dreamt I was sitting in the driver's seat, staring into my own mirror, and he was behind me again, leaning against the trailer door, smiling. Then his voice, flat, metallic. "Right behind my ear, you looked. Now I see you." I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat, but what made my stomach turn was the condensation on the window beside me. Someone had drawn a single circle with a line through it, like an eye. With a slick dot I started avoiding mirrors. After that dot, I taped over the side ones, angled the dash cam down, covered the stainless panel on the tanker with dust. Anything to keep from seeing them again. But it didn't matter. He found other ways. Reflections off chrome bumpers, sunglasses of other drivers, puddles after rain. Everywhere I looked, his eyes stared back, cold, round and silver. One night near Van Horn, I stopped at an all-night diner just to be around people again. The waitress looked tired but kind. She called me hun and poured coffee before I even asked. When I glanced at the window beside my booth, I nearly dropped the cup. Outside in the reflection, I could see the parking lot, empty except for my truck. And him, standing next to it, watching through the glass. I turned fast. Nothing there. Just darkness. But when I looked back at the reflection again, he was closer, face against the glass. Those chrome eyes, catching every bit of light from inside. I left the coffee untouched and bolted for the truck. By the time I got in, my hands were trembling so hard I could barely shift. As I hit the road again, the CB flicked on by itself, pure static for a few seconds. Then a low metallic whisper, "Don't blink." "Driver." I ripped the plug out of the port. Didn't matter. The voice was still there, now behind me, faint under the hum of the engine. "Don't blink. Don't blink." I screamed into the empty cab. "What the hell do you want from me?" "Your eyes." I didn't remember much after that. Somewhere past Sierra Blanca, I must have drifted off the main highway when I came to. I was parked on a narrow access road in the middle of nowhere. The truck's headlights were on, pointing at a chain-link gate that led to a long, dark field. And standing there, just beyond the gate, was the chrome-eyed man. He smiled this time. A slow, careful grin that didn't reach the rest of his face. Then he lifted his hand and pointed at me, first with one finger, then with two, like he was measuring distance. Then he turned and walked into the field. I don't remember getting out, but I must have followed him, because the next thing I knew, I was standing in tall grass up to my waist, cold wind cutting through my jacket. My truck's headlights a distant glow behind me. The man stood maybe 20 feet ahead, half in shadow. "Who are you?" I shouted. "You already know." "Why me?" "Because you looked." His voice was metallic, echoing like a radio signal bouncing off mountains. "You all look. Every one of you. But I only need one." He took a step forward, light glinting off those mirrored eyes. "Now close them." I did the opposite. I ran through the field, back toward the glow of my truck, heart slamming so hard I thought I'd collapse. I didn't look back. Not once. When I finally threw myself into the cab and slammed the door, I caught one last glimpse in the side mirror, those chrome eyes shining in the dark, inches from the glass dot, then black. When I woke, it was daylight. The truck was parked on the shoulder of I-10 again, engine idling. No field, no gate, no man. Just highway. I told myself it was a nightmare, a sleep drive episode, something that made sense, until I looked in the mirror and saw that both my eyes had a faint ring of silver on the iris. When I looked in that mirror and saw the silver, I told myself it was the sunlight, that it wasn't really there. But when I blinked, it flashed. Just for a split second, bright and cold, like the reflection of chrome in the desert. I remember whispering to myself, "No, no, no," and grabbing my phone to use the camera instead. The screen showed it clearly. Silver rings, thin but sharp, encircling my pupils like melted metal. And in the reflection of my own face on that screen, I thought I saw someone standing behind me. Barefoot. I threw the phone onto the passenger seat and gunned the truck down I-10, keeping my eyes on the horizon. Every reflective surface in the cab, mirrors, the chrome handle, the dash trim, caught glints of silver I tried not to look at. But the problem with not looking is you start feeling instead, and I could feel him there. Same way you feel the sun behind a cloud, a presence pressing down on the back of your neck. By the time I reached the El Paso way station, I was shaking so bad I could barely sign the logbook. The attendant gave me a look and asked if I was one of the drivers who saw him. That stopped me cold. Who? I asked. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. The chrome-eyed man. Word goes around. Drivers see him on empty stretches. Then weird things start happening. Mirrors fogging, lights flickering. Couple of them never came back through. He grinned nervously, like he was half joking. Guess he collects folks who stare too long. I didn't say anything. I just took my papers and left. I kept telling myself, rumor, ghost story, trucker talk. But as the night rolled in again, I couldn't stop noticing things. Highway signs bending light wrong. The faint reflection of a second pair of eyes in the windshield. A whisper that came from the CB, even though it wasn't plugged in. Don't blink, driver. At the next fuel stop, I tried something desperate. I walked into the restroom, turned off the light, and stared at my reflection in the mirror. The silver rings were brighter now, glowing faintly in the dark. Then my reflection blinked, and I didn't. I stumbled back, breath catching in my throat. The reflection smiled, and it wasn't me anymore. I smashed the mirror with my fist, glass spraying everywhere. When I looked down, my knuckles were cut, but the blood shimmered silver under the light. That's when I realized what was happening wasn't hallucination. It was infection, like he'd crawled into me through my own reflection. I ran out of there, climbed into the truck, and drove until my eyes blurred. That night, I found a truck stop with a full parking lot. Diesel engines humming, people moving, lights everywhere. I parked between two rigs and sat there breathing hard, telling myself, he can't touch me if I'm not alone. That's when my CB crackled again, dead quiet all day. Now hissing alive. You think crowds keep you safe? My stomach dropped. Leave me the hell alone. I shouted, you already let me in. The mic light flicked red, transmitting, even though my hand wasn't on it, and from every truck around me. The other CBs started whispering the same words. Keep your eyes. Keep your eyes. Keep your eyes. Over and over. I ripped the whole unit out of the dash and threw it on the floor. But even then, I could still hear him, not from the speaker. Not from outside, from inside my own head. Close them, and I'll take them. Keep them open, and I'll see through them. I pressed my palms against my eyes until I saw stars. Shaking, when I opened them again, the lot was empty. All those trucks, all those people, gone. Just me. And standing at the edge of the sodium light was the chrome-eyed man. He didn't move, didn't speak, he just pointed. First at my eyes, then at the tanker. The message was clear. It's your turn now. I backed away slowly. What do you want? A mirror, a road, a way through. And then he smiled again, the kind of smile that splits too far, chrome gleaming under his skin. You've been on my frequency since the first look. Now you carry me. He started walking toward me, every step making the air hum. The reflections on the truck rippling like water. When he reached me, he leaned close, whispering against my ear, blink. And I did that just once. When I opened my eyes, I was driving again. Same road, same stretch, but something was wrong. The gauges were reversed, speedometer spinning backward, radio upside down, outside. The moon was hanging low, below the horizon line, silver and wrong. And in every reflective surface, the chrome tank, the window, the glass on my watch, His face was there, smiling, watching. That was 3 nights ago. I think, time's strange now. I can't tell when I'm driving and when I'm dreaming. Sometimes, I wake up parked somewhere I don't remember stopping. Sometimes, I look into the mirror and see my own mouth moving, saying things I don't remember speaking. The other day, I met another driver at a way station. He looked at me funny and asked if I was wearing contacts or something. I didn't answer, because when I glanced at his sunglasses, I saw my reflection, and the chrome-eyed man was standing behind me again, closer this time. I tried one last thing. I parked the rig, grabbed a tire iron, and smashed every mirror, every reflective panel, every bit of chrome I could find. The glass shattered like ice. The sound echoed for miles. When I looked down, I saw his reflection in each broken shard, hundreds of tiny versions of him, smiling up from the pavement. You can't unsee what saw you. They all whispered at once. I ran until I couldn't. Now I'm writing this from a motel just outside Las Cruces. No mirrors here. No windows. Just walls and silence. But sometimes when the air conditioner hums, I catch a faint metallic echo, and in the TV's black screen, when it's off, I can see those chrome eyes, glowing faintly back at me. He's waiting. He's inside. If you're reading this and you're a driver, if you ever see a man on the shoulder wearing white, don't look in your mirror, even if you think it's nothing, because the moment you see the chrome-eyed man, he sees you, and every reflection you pass after that, every window, every puddle, every bit of glass, becomes a doorway. For him, I can feel him now, whispering behind my eyes. He says it's my turn to take the highway west, to look for the next driver who'll meet his gaze, and when I find them, I'll smile just like he did, because the chrome-eyed man doesn't follow you forever. He just waits until you blink. I've been running loads up and down Highway 287 for nearly 15 years before I saw the convoy. Truckers tell stories about that stretch, the Phantom Fleet, they call it. Supposedly, after midnight, you can spot a line of rigs with no plates, no logos, and no shadows. They appear out of nowhere, cruise the asphalt in silence, and vanish when the sun starts coming up. I always thought it was Bessie, something drivers made up to keep themselves awake. Until the night I tried to pass them. It was early spring, about 2:15 a.m. Somewhere between Childress and Wichita Falls. My rig was hauling cold freight, big freezer units, humming low behind me. The highway was empty, stars clear as glass. Then, way up ahead, I saw a faint red glow. At first, I thought it was taillights. But as I got closer, I noticed there were more, 3, 4, maybe 5 pairs, evenly spaced, dead straight. No wobble, no swaying, no CB chatter. Just a line of trucks moving in perfect formation. Convoy, huh? I muttered into the mic, flipping to channel 19. Y'all running tight tonight. Nothing. Not static. Not feedback. Just nothing. The silence was wrong. Radios don't go that quiet unless the signal's dead. But my GPS was still working. And I could see the faint glow of one truck's clearance. Lights maybe a quarter mile up. When I got close enough to see the rear trailer, that's when I noticed the first thing that didn't make sense. There was no number. No company name. Not even a plate. Just dull, flat gray metal, like the paint had been sanded off. I flicked my high beams once. A courtesy flash. I'm passing. The trailer didn't respond. Didn't move an inch. I eased into the left lane, expecting the draft to catch, but there was nothing. No push, no vibration. It was like the truck wasn't there at all. Still. I kept moving, one hand on the wheel, eyes on the mirrors. When my cab pulled even with the rear doors, I saw something written there. Faint under the dust. March 14, 1985. That was it. No company name. No slogan. Just a date. The next truck in line had the same thing. Different date. August 29, 1987. Then the next. October 2nd, 1993. Every trailer had one old. Random dates scrawled in what looked like grease pencil. My heart started pounding. And I realized the radio was picking up something faint, not voices. Just a low hum. Almost like an idling engine, except it wasn't coming from my truck. Rolled down the window to listen. Cold air hit me. Sharp and dry. And under the hum, I heard it. Faint CB chatter. Old style, crackly, distant. Breaker 19. Convoys clear. Poolin south past 287. Voices that sounded like they were playing from a decades-old recording. I tried to answer, but my mic wouldn't transmit. The red light flicked on, then off, like someone was pressing it from the other side. Then the voice came again, louder this time. "You're out of line, driver." Fall in. Something cold hit my stomach. I let off the accelerator, trying to fall back, but the moment I did, every taillight ahead of me blinked in sync. 3 flashes, then darkness. The road went pitch black, no running lights, no glow from their dashboards. My headlights hit nothing but empty asphalt. And then, all at once, they were behind me. Every mirror lit up red. A line of headlights too bright, too close. I could hear engines now, deep and hollow, like they were running underwater. Fall in. The voice again. Clearer this time through my CB, even though it wasn't powered on. "You're late. Don't make us wait again." I pressed the pedal, trying to put distance between us. But my truck wasn't responding right. RPMs dropped. Temperature gauge spiked. And the GPS started flickering like crazy. Then I saw the clock on the dash, 2:15. A .m. Same as before. It hadn't moved. I drove for what felt like an hour. But the time never changed. Every few miles, I'd catch glimpses, red lights on my right, pale reflections in the glass. Once, I looked out the side window and nearly choked. Another rig, rusted, paint peeling, was keeping perfect pace beside me. Maybe 10 feet away, inside, through the passenger window, I could see the driver, or what was left of him. He was gray, hollow-eyed, skin like old wax, and when he turned his head toward me, I saw the steering wheel passing through his hands. I hit the brakes hard. The road screeched under me, tires smoking. The other trucks didn't slow. They just rolled past in silence, a line of 12, maybe more, their taillights glowing like dying embers. When the last one passed, I noticed its trailer was open. Inside were dozens of old logbooks, loose pages fluttering like wings in the wind. Every one of them had a driver's name, and the same words stamped in red across the top colonne. Lost. By the time I pulled over, I was shaking so bad I couldn't grab my phone. I checked my dash again. Still 2:15 a.m. The CB was off. The radio was off. But through the static of dead air, I could still hear faint, rhythmic breathing. And somewhere in that whispering hum, a voice said, "You're with us now." I didn't sleep that night. When dawn came, I got out and walked to the back of my rig, trying to prove to myself that the world was normal again. Everything looked fine, no damage, no footprints. But on the rear door, written in dust, 3 words I hadn't seen before: "You fell in." That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, every time I take Highway 287 after dark, they show up. Doesn't matter what time I start, what direction I go. At exactly 2:15 a.m., the lights appear. And if I don't keep pace, if I drop back too far, the static starts again. "Stay in line, driver. Convoy don't stop." I've talked to other truckers about it. Some say they've seen it too. One old guy at a way station in Bowie told me the legend goes back decades. Said it started with a pileup in '85, chain collision that killed 13 drivers in the fog. Their rigs burned so hot the vang plates melted. The company tried to cover it up. But some nights, the drivers come back, still running that same stretch of highway, finishing the route. They never completed. I laughed it off when he told me. But that night, when I passed through the same area, the air turned cold, like I'd driven into a freezer. The road ahead shimmered, and the taillights appeared again. The lights came back clearer this time. Not faint or flickering like before. Bright, steady, red circles hovering just above the asphalt. 8 rigs. Maybe 9. Perfectly spaced. Perfectly still. It was 2:15 a.m. again. No matter what I did. No matter what day or direction I drove, that number never changed. And tonight, I decided I wasn't running anymore. I was going to see what they wanted. I pulled my rig into the right lane, matching their speed, steady, 60 miles per hour. No engine noise from them. No headlights. Just those rear taillights glowing like dying coals in the dark. I flipped the CB to channel 19 and whispered, "You wanted me to fall in. I'm here." Static hissed for a long moment. Then, a voice, low, dry, and stretched thin, came through. "Copy that, driver. Keep her steady." Convoy's clear. Something in that voice wasn't right. It sounded old. Like it came from a tape left in the sun for years. I tightened my grip on the wheel. "Who are you?" The reply was instant. "Dead air, driver. Just dead air." Then laughter, hollow and distant, echoing through the static. The road ahead shimmered, heat lines warping under my headlights even though it was close to freezing outside. And then the trucks began to fade in, not appear, not drive up, just phase into view, one after another, like film frames loading out of order. Each cab dull gray, windshields black, headlights dead. Yet they moved, tires rolling smooth, perfect rhythm, like they were following an invisible road no one else could see. I leaned forward, watching the nearest trailer. Its doors were marked with the same faint grease pencil date as before. MARCH 14, 1985, I realized. That was the night of the accident the old guy told me about. The pileup that killed 13 truckers. A wreck that supposedly shut down the whole stretch for a week. Before I could think, the CB cracked again. Breaker 19, all lanes clear, lost unit approaching. The taillights ahead of me blinked 3 times. And then, the last rig in line drifted into the left lane. Like it was making room for me. I shouldn't have done it, but I merged. The second my tires aligned with theirs, the world shifted. Sound dropped out. No engine hum, no road noise, nothing. Outside the cab, the world was washed out gray, moonlight gone. Stars erased, even the clock on my dash stopped ticking. 2:15 a.m. Frozen. And through that silence, a single phrase came through the CB, soft as breath. "Convoy complete." I looked around. Every truck in line was moving perfectly. But inside the cabs, I could see them now, the drivers, or what was left of them. Faces half melted, uniforms fused to skin, hands gripping wheels they no longer needed. They stared straight ahead, eyes black as oil, expressions calm, almost peaceful. Each one turned their head toward me in slow unison. Then, all at once, they smiled. My throat tightened. I slammed the brakes, but my rig didn't slow. It stayed locked at 60, perfectly matched to theirs. I tried cutting the engine, killing the ignition, nothing. The key wouldn't turn. The CB light blinked red, and a voice hissed through, overlapping itself like multiple drivers speaking in one breath. "You're one of us now. Keep her steady. Convoy, don't stop. You fell in." The headlights of the truck behind me grew brighter, too bright. It was closing in, bumper to bumper. I could see the driver through the cracked glass of his cab. He looked almost alive now, pale face twitching, teeth clenched around a CB mic. He mouthed something I couldn't hear. Then I realized he was saying my name. I floored it. Jerking the wheel left. The whole world rippled, horizon bending, air vibrating like heat above asphalt. And then, suddenly, noise came rushing back. Engines, wind, everything slamming into my ears at once. I was back on the real road. Only, I wasn't alone. In my mirror, the convoy still followed, faint, half visible, like shadows burned into the air. Every time I blinked, they vanished. Every time I looked again, they were closer. At a truck stop in Vernon, I tried to get help. Told a guy named Davis, a fellow hauler, about what I'd seen. He didn't laugh. He just went quiet, then lifted his sleeve to show me a faint burn mark on his wrist, shaped like a date. A UG 29, 1987. Same road, he said. I saw them 30 years ago. Thought I got away. He looked down. They don't let you go, man. They just let you drive. That night I didn't even plan to get back on 287. But when I woke up, I was already on it. Truck running, GPS dead. Headlights off. Clock frozen again at 2:15. And in the reflection on the windshield, faint, barely there. I could see the red taillights ahead. Waiting. I pressed my face against the glass. What do you want from me? The CB hissed back, clear as ever. A driver for the last load. 13 of us went down. We're still one short. And then I heard the sound, the hiss of air brakes all around me. My entire rig shuddered. The steering wheel locking in place. The truck started to move forward on its own. Keep her steady. Convoy's clear. Welcome home. I think that's when I blacked out, because when I opened my eyes, it was daylight again. Clear blue sky, birds in the distance. My truck was parked on a service road. Engine off, no other vehicles in sight. For a second, I thought I'd made it, but when I got out, I saw something etched into the side of my trailer, faint, written in soot and dust. November 7, 2025. Today, single quotes, S date. My date. I've been parked here for hours, waiting for someone to drive by. No cars, no other trucks. Just wind. But if I listen close enough, I can hear engines somewhere far away. Low, steady, in perfect rhythm. Every few minutes, I think I see their taillights flash on the horizon. And when I blink, they're gone. But I know they're out there. They always are. Convoy don't stop. If you're driving Highway 287 after midnight, and you see a line of rigs ahead, gray, unmarked, silent, don't pass. Don't merge. Don't even look too long. Because once you see them, they see you. And one day, when you're tired, half asleep at the wheel, they'll make room in line. Just one open slot for you. The logbook wasn't mine, but it had my name on the last page. I found it 3 nights ago at a truck stop outside Midland, just sitting on the counter by the coffee machine, like someone had left it there for me. The cover was cracked leather, stained dark like it had been through rain and sun. The front page was blank except for one thing, handwritten in small, shaky letters. Do not run Route 34 after midnight. That's it. No name, no signature. Just that one warning. And I ran Route 34 anyway. It's a stretch I've driven hundreds of times. 40 miles of desert highway that links the oil fields to a refinery west of Odessa. No lights, no houses, just sand and mesquite for as far as you can see. That night, I left the depot at 11:40. The dispatcher, a quiet kid named Mason, gave me the paperwork and frowned when he saw the route. You sure you want to take 34 this late? He asked. Why wouldn't I? He hesitated. Some of the guys say it messes with their clocks. GPS goes weird. They lose time out there. I laughed it off. GPS loses signal all the time. He didn't laugh. Just don't stop. That's all I'll say. The first hour was fine. Flat black road, a few tumbleweeds rolling through my beams. The stars were sharp, so clear they almost hurt to look at. Around midnight, I glanced at the logbook sitting on the passenger seat. I hadn't meant to bring it. I must have grabbed it by accident when I picked up my coffee. I opened it out of boredom, thumbing through old entries. The first few pages were normal, driver names, cargo weights, fuel stops. Then the handwriting changed. The next few entries were shaky, slanted. Like someone writing while driving on rough road. And the dates, that's what stopped me cold. They all ended the same way. Route 34, 2 a.m. Still driving. Still not there. Every single one. At 12:42, my GPS blinked out. Just flatline, black screen, no signal. I tapped it, restarted it. Nothing. The dash clock still worked though. And the road signs kept passing like normal. But then I noticed something weird. Each mile marker I passed read the same number. Over and over. I slowed down, craning my neck to make sure I wasn't missing something. The sign was real, green, white reflective paint. But when the next one came up, it read 243 again. Then the next dot and the next. Okay. What the hell, I muttered, grabbing the CB. Dispatch. This is 619 eastbound, you got me? Nothing. Midland base, you there? Only static. And a faint voice crackled through, low, distorted, almost whispering. Log it. My stomach dropped. Who's this? No answer. Just that single word again, stretched through the static. Log it. The hair on my arm stood up. I glanced down at the logbook again. The page was open. I hadn't left it that way, and fresh ink bled across the paper. Handwriting not my own. 12:47 a.m. He heard me. I slammed it shut and threw it on the floor. That's when I realized the road had gone completely silent. No wind. No engine hum. Nothing. Even the tires. I couldn't hear them on the asphalt anymore. I killed the headlights for a second, just to check if I was still moving. I was through total darkness. I flipped the lights back on. But the world ahead had changed. The road wasn't asphalt anymore. It was dirt. Uneven, narrow, lined with black fence posts that weren't there before. And in the distance, I could see a faint orange glow like a campfire. I slowed down, creeping forward until my beams caught a shape beside the road. It was a truck, or what was left of one. Cab burned out, glass gone, tires melted into the sand, and lying beside it, a charred logbook. I didn't get out. I just stared, heart thudding. Then from the corner of my eye, I saw something moving behind the wreck, a figure walking slow, dragging one leg. It stopped when my headlights hit it. I couldn't see a face, just the silhouette, tall, thin, holding something small in its hand. It raised the object slowly, a logbook. Then its voice, faint, broken, carried on the wind. Your turn. I floored it. The road twisted hard right, then straight again, the sand whipping up behind me. The glow disappeared. The figure vanished, but when I glanced in the rear view, I could see something running along the side of the road, fast, keeping pace with my rig. Too fast that it wasn't running on the ground. It was moving through it, like a shadow underwater. Every time my headlights hit a reflective sign, I saw its outline, closer, clearer. And every single one of those signs still said the same thing. 243. At 1:37 a.m. My dashboard lights flickered. The gauges spun, then froze. And the clock, the one thing that had been working, changed. 2 o'clock. A M. Then the engine coughed. Once. Twice. And the world outside fell dead silent again when I stopped. The headlights dimmed to a dull orange. The desert stretched on both sides, flat, endless, wrong. The air smelled like burning rubber and something sweet, almost metallic. And when I leaned forward, I saw a figure standing directly in the beam of my lights. It was me. Same jacket, same hat, but the face was burned, blackened around the eyes. The skin melted into something that didn't move right. The other me lifted its hand, holding a logbook. The cab filled with static. The radio screen blinked bright white. Then black. And faint writing began to form across the windshield from the inside, letters etching themselves into the condensation. Sign IT. My name appeared beneath it. Handwriting not my own. I reached for the door handle, but it was ice cold, locked tight. The figure outside tilted its head, waiting. Then it whispered through the glass. perfectly clear. Route 34 never ends until you finish the log. I grabbed the pen, hand shaking, staring at the empty page that had appeared at the end of the book. Final entry. Blank lines beneath it. Something deep in me said don't, but the longer I hesitated, the louder the whispering got. Not just one voice now, but dozens, all saying the same thing. Over and over. Finish the log. I wrote a single word. Still driving. And the second I did, the engine roared to life. I don't remember much after that. Just light, blinding and white, and the sound of metal tearing apart. When I opened my eyes, I was sitting in the cab again, parked on a paved road. My GPS showed I was 10 miles from Odessa. The clock said 6:17 a.m. It was daylight. For a second, I thought I'd dreamed it all. Then I looked down at the passenger seat. The logbook was still there. Open. And beneath my handwriting, a new line had appeared. 2 a.m. Still driving. Still not there. When I got back to the depot that morning, I couldn't stop shaking. The daylight felt fake, too bright, too sharp, like the world was trying too hard to look normal. Mason met me at the gate, eyes going wide when he saw the state of my rig. The paint was scorched along the fenders. My windshield had thin, spider-webbed cracks that hadn't been there before. "Jesus, what happened to you?" he asked. "Nothing," I lied. "Road debris." But when I handed him the manifest, I noticed the corner of the paper was singed black, like it had been near fire. He didn't seem to notice. He just frowned. "You sure you ran 34? GPS says you never left the yard." My stomach dropped. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing the figure, me, burned and waiting on the road. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard that whisper. Still driving. By 2 a.m., I was sitting in the cab again. Engine off, parked outside the depot fence. Logbook open on the passenger seat. The last page, the final entry, was blank again, but now the ink was still wet. I picked up the pen. It started writing by itself. November 8th, 2025. He came back. I dropped the pen and shoved the logbook shut. It felt warm. The leather pulsed slightly, like a slow heartbeat. I backed away, breath fogging in the cold air, when my CB crackled to life on its own. Driver 619, confirm status. I froze. That was Mason's voice, but the signal wasn't coming from the yard. It was broadcasting on channel 34, the same channel that had been dead for years. "Mason? Where are you calling from?" Static. Then, faint, hollow, almost distant. Log it. That same word. That same voice. I turned off the CB, unplugged the mic. The second I did, I heard a knock. 3 soft taps against the driver's side. Door. There was no one there. Just desert wind. But when I looked down, something was lying on the ground, an old clipboard. I picked it up. It was melted, warped, but still legible. The paper clipped to it had one line written in faded blue ink. "Mason, 2 a.m. still driving." My throat went dry. I turned around and looked toward the dispatch office. Dark. Empty. Mason wasn't there. The next day, the company called me in. They said Mason never clocked out after my delivery. His car was still in the lot. Keys in the ignition. No one had seen him since. They asked if I'd talk to him after midnight. I told them no. But when I opened my glove box later that night, I found another logbook sitting on top of the first one. This one brand new. Clean, empty. And on the inside cover, written in pencil, "Driver, Mason Reeves." I tried to get rid of them. Both books. I threw them out behind a diner near Sweetwater, into a rusted oil drum full of rainwater, watched them sink. But when I got back to the rig, they were on the passenger seat again, dry, clean. Waiting. The newer one had something scrawled on its front page now. "Keep going." And my name underneath. By the third night, I was losing track of time. Every clock I owned froze at 2 a.m., my phone, my watch. Even the dash timer. I'd catch myself staring at the highway from the lot. Engine idling, headlights pointed toward Route 34. It was like something out there was pulling me back. That's when I realized the logbook wasn't just recording what happened. It was deciding it. Every line that appeared inside came true. And every time I tried to stop driving, another line would show up. He's stalling. He'll go soon. Still driving. I hadn't written any of it, but it was in my handwriting. 2 nights ago, I gave up trying to fight it. I told myself I'd go one last time, drive out there, toss the books into the sand, and end it for good. I left the yard at 11:40 again. Same as before. No traffic. No wind. The road stretched flat and endless, heat rippling under a cold moon. I passed mile marker 240, then 241, then 242. When 243 came into view, I almost turned around, but the road behind me was gone. It was just darkness. At 2 a.m., my headlights caught something ahead, a truck, parked sideways across the road, flames licking at the trailer. I braked hard and stepped out. The smell hit me. Burnt oil, rubber, and something worse. Inside the cab was a shape slumped over the wheel, melted. ID tag still visible on the shirt. Mason Reeves. I stumbled back, heart slamming in my chest. Then I heard the CB crackle. Log it. I looked through the cracked windshield. Mason's burned head lifted, eyes hollow, teeth black. He grinned. The logbook on his dash flipped open, pages fluttering in a wind that wasn't there. Every page had my name. I ran back into my truck, slammed the door. The logbook on my seat had already opened itself to a new page. Fresh ink appeared, letter by letter. 2:01 a.m. He saw him. He knows. The engine started on its own. Gears shifted. The wheel turned. My hands weren't even on it. The next thing I remember was daylight again. My truck parked outside the refinery. Full tank, logbook shut. When I flipped it open, the last entry said, "Final delivery complete." No time stamp, no signature, but there was a note written below it, different handwriting, neat and careful. He finished the log. And at the bottom of the page, a new space had appeared. Next driver, _. It's been a week since then. I've stopped sleeping altogether. Every night at 2 a.m., my radio turns on by itself. Always the same voice. Always the same message. Driver needed for Route 34. Sign the log. I've tried destroying it. Burned it. Buried it. Doesn't matter. It always comes back. Clean. Waiting. Blank page ready. I don't think it wants me anymore. I think it's looking for someone new. So if you ever find a leather logbook sitting alone at a gas station, don't open it. Don't read the first page, because the second you see your name inside, the road starts calling. And when that clock hits 2 a.m., you'll be behind the wheel. Driving. Still driving. Still not there.